Have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we'll need that language change and then we'll have to sign it again.
Yes.
Yeah, just redo because it was a conditional contract, right?
Yeah.
Or a conditional
Conditional
offer.
offer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just
So
revise
just
it.
revise the conditional
Okay.
offer.
Perfect. Cool, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
And if there's anything you need me for, just give me a...
We'll
Just
keep,
call me.
we'll keep.
Show me the one that takes care of it.
That's fair.
That was truth.
That's funny. That's funny.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
I want to get Tony and those guys out of here. Right.
Tony, come on up. Let's go ahead.
There should be like 30 seconds.
I don't know how many more.
Ups and downs and... Sorry, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Tony Monty, Bannock County Sheriff, and
Alex Hamilton, Chief Deputy, Bannock County Sheriff.
so, first, I wanted to give this to you guys. This is that animal shelter
Oh,
that,
yep.
I'm just turning that over to you. At some point, you guys can review it. I know legal had rewritten it for the terms that you guys requested.
These guys have?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Bamey Allen had done it, so.
Okay, we need to...
Is there a copy
Yeah,
of that
we'll
for
need to get
Nancy?
a copy for Nancy and those guys. That's the animal contract. so-
That'll have to be on a different
Yeah.
agenda
Yeah,
anyway.
I just wanted to give it to you guys.
No, that's
Here.
good.
We'll make it presented here, it needs to go in the
Not
minutes.
to
Put it right
dealt with
there,
today.
we'll just
I'll
take it with us.
Yep.
But today, we're here to.
Trip downstairs.
Yeah, we're here to ask for, actually just permission to, as far as vehicles in this upcoming budget, because we're in this, right now, vehicles are, as you guys know, a shortage. We've got other agencies that aren't getting vehicles this year, but we're in this, speaking to our vendor, it's like there's a window of opportunity to order vehicles for the next year, and that window's next week. And to be able to order them prior to the budget, like we did last year, benefited us this year because we got all our vehicles for this year. Where Power County, Bingham County, there's other agencies that probably aren't getting vehicles this year, but they weren't able to order vehicles like we did. Situation now is we happened to get a call and they had 3 extra vehicles that that got turned down from another agency, which happened to be the 3 type of vehicles that we use for patrol vehicles. So he had asked me, do you want these for next budget year? And I said, just earmark them and I'll speak to the commission to see where we are. So where we are right now is he's earmarked these 3 white Tahoes that are brand new 2022s that are sitting in a lot in Utah at Premier who does all our installations. So right now they're there, and if we want them, we can have them for next year, and they won't invoice us or anything. But the ask is to order the 2 vehicles that we need to order at this point for the next year budget. So, and the equipment that needs to go into it, which they're also are Shanghai.
Because we're going to do 5 vehicles,
5
right? So
vehicles.
those 3 that are sitting there is what you're asking for. That's in the normal rotation.
Which they're gonna keep for us irregardless.
Okay. But it's, okay.
So they've earmarked them for us, but we won't see any kind of action on those as far as invoice or anything until after October 1.
So are these purchases or leases?
Lease.
Leases, okay.
So we need to order 2 vehicles along with equipment at this point in time now in order to get everything in for the next budget year. So that's the ask, is mainly the 2 vehicles that we need to order, which are detective vehicles, and then all the equipment for the 5 vehicles.
So you have specific places for these to go, and what happens to the vehicles that are there now?
They just sit and wait until
We dispose of them or they move off.
we have no vehicles right now to turn in.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we were asking.
Right.
Is, okay.
We had to,
So we have vehicles that are ready for this the current budget that we've ordered. Those should be picked up within a couple, 2 or 3 weeks. When those come, we have 5 vehicles that will return to them at that point. And we'll identify those before you guys, and then they will give us, they'll sell them for us. That
Don't credit
leasing
us.
company. Yep.
Well,
So,
the police, or the fire department was here last week. We may use a vehicle here, we may use it here, and there wasn't direct answer, so thank you for a direct
no,
answer.
and I know the fire department was looking for a white Tahoe, and I said, well, they can find their own. Because there's, I mean, it is hard to get vehicles right now.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky that we're in a position, this guy, it's because we have a good relationship with the lease company now that even held these 3 for us, or you not even know if you get
So
vehicles.
the company that's holding them for us says, hey, do you guys want to make like 20 grand per vehicle? They go, nope. Because it'd go back to our general budget anyways. And it really does us no good.
Yeah,
The equipment and the vehicles are more important than what we can turn around and get them. You know,
Yep.
At least to us. Maybe somebody
Well,
has a different view.
And going out and doing a ride along the other night, that was one of them. I was in one of those Durangos. It's had some engine problems, and
They're horrible.
the Durangos are a little bit more tight than the Tahoes. I don't know if you guys have ridden in those yet, but I climbed around the Tahoe and then climbed around the Durango, and that's one of the things, especially those guys and gals, if they're out on the road and doing their thing, especially where the others have had engine problems and stuff, I'd rather just get those switched out as fast as we can.
do you have any concerns in this method?
They were gonna ask for them anyways next year.
Right.
They're
So
part of the cycle.
you're just
They're part of a
approving
cycle.
Yeah,
We're just trying to get ahead of the game.
The only issue really is it is not good practice to obligate funds for
The following
prior
year.
to the budget.
Yes.
But vehicles are a strange situation right now nationwide. And so this is something that in a typical year,
We wouldn't do it.
We wouldn't be in the situation. 'cause
Nor would
people
we
be
ask.
struggling.
Or we- yeah.
But I just want to say it out loud that it is not general practice
Right.
to obligate funds for the next year's budget.
Which is why we're here.
Yeah.
Seems like we're doing this with the sheriff's office a lot lately.
It happens to me, the sheriff's office often.
I don't know, it seems like special circumstances is
Well,
in the
and-
vocabulary.
But it is. That's one thing, and we discussed this when we were at IAC. That's one thing that I think that Bannock County, we've been proactive on this. We've identified supply chain shortages, and we've done this in multiple, other departments. We've just been mindful, and it actually keeps that efficiencies and effectiveness. And we're not having these lulls because to tell you the truth, I don't really want to put another engine in one of those Durangos. I'm kind of sick and tired. I mean, I think one of them, had 2 engines?
Yep.
Yep.
And that's the whole problem and they're like brand new vehicles.
And the Tahoe's, no
Nothing.
problem.
Yeah.
They've been and we're still recycling Tahoes for transport vehicles, I mean, stuff like that.
You're actually using them instead of kicking them in
Right.
if you don't have to.
Right. We try to sustain those for jail purposes or whatever, because they're such good vehicles.
No, and I think that's some of the other discussions we need to have with some of those Tahoes instead of turning those back in. If we can keep some of those as maybe some of these other vehicles that are 4-wheel drive, some of the stuff that we have is, let's see if we can cycle those out and still get some more life out of them.
But I will say, talking with Elise, they're projecting our first round of vehicles, that they could probably, when we turn them in, still get, after the 5 years, get 18,000 per vehicle.
Now, are they gonna give us a check for that? Is that the intent that they've talked about?
It depends on the decisions you guys make, whether you want to turn them back towards another lease, to offset that cost.
Okay, that
Or
could-
take the
Existing
cash and
lease
put
that
back
we
in.
have going with the other vehicles. I guess it's really up to,
okay.
How we want to do it.
Turning credits on leases. I mean, if you sell a current asset towards a lease, that gets a little hairy in financial reporting.
You just turn it as a credit instead of
So-
selling it. Well,
Yeah.
so basically they're just turning that's how the paperwork's done.
Yeah,
It's fun. But it's one of those things that, and to tell you the truth, I heard this put by a guy the other way. It's a good problem to have to report funds that are actually coming back to help you minimize the cost of operations. And I mean, I know that's, but it's one of those things.
number-wise, this way, it's a piece of cake.
Oh, yeah, but it's
I
just-
just
Right.
mean, writing up my financials,
I know.
and you're trying to show a gain on something that you don't have, or a trade on an asset that you're not picking up, that's,
Sorry, they owe you breakfast.
And really, that's up to you guys. We'll just hold on to it until you say, yeah, let's do it this way. So,
No, I'm okay with this, Mr. Chairman. This is something that,
About
you
a
know,
motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the ordering of the three top.
just two vehicles.
Oh, I thought there were three.
We have three
They'll hold till
that
next
we
year.
claim.
Okay, so on the two.
I'd put it all in the same motion
Yes.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
So we
Mr. Chair, I
talked
make
about
a
all five.
motion that we authorize the pre-purchase of the three have been identified to hold on to
Correct.
until the new fiscal year, and then also approve ordering the two
Correct.
that are
And the
requested.
equipment.
And the equipment. So we have equipment for 5
Correct.
vehicles. That was a long, complicated motion.
They're a lease, not a purchase.
And these will be leases, not purchases.
Correct.
there you go.
Okay, Nancy? Okay.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah. Tony, I was going to harass you. Your chief deputy, he's wearing Eagles, and so the other night I just called him Colonel out of habit. I was like, hey, you know who it is.
So I was trying to tell Ryan, you know, he sent this memo out that said, oh, good job, guys, you haven't had any of your vehicles get in any crash.
Somebody hit something.
And then we had 2 right in a row.
That's Murphy's Law.
Yeah, Murphy.
No more attaboys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is everybody okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, Shandon, let's finish yours up.
Yeah, right in, have you done it right now? No. That Durango was like that last time.
Commissioners, back before the board today is a draft of the design build for the RFQ for the Wellness Complex Gravity Sewer System. As we talked last week, there was a couple things that you wanted adjusted and tightened up a little bit. The first one being the timeline. I did go back through and make a new swipe at the timeline and have it cut by about 3 weeks from the end of August to the beginning of August is now where I currently anticipate the signing of the contract. However, upon further review, there are 2 other places, if the commission so desires, that we could shave another 2 weeks off of that and get it moved up again. This would give our review team 48 hours to review proposals that were put in. But if we have commitment from those 3 reviewers, I don't see.
Yeah, I would prefer to do that.
Okay.
This is going to be a fairly straightforward review. This is not going to be a.
It is in depth.
It's in depth,
right?
but
We
as
want to
the
make sure,
as the
but,
project goes, this is not a complicated vertical structure. This is a horizontal asset that should be easy to hopefully, unless they're making some crazy design or something like that, which.
And I have been able to confirm on that review team, right? We have invited Mike, our engineer, to be a part of that. Scott from the Event Center has agreed to be a part of that. And then Kyle has asked that Rowdy Evans be a part of that,
Yep.
as he is in a lot of those utilities and roads and things.
Yep.
I thought that would make a great team. So I will be clear with those 3 individuals, right, that is a super tight time frame, but right, if they get in and get it done, we should be good to go. That would move my contract signing up to, well, we would award the RFP on the 7th of July. And then depending if, my plan is to have the contract already through legal and ready to go. So as long as their company doesn't have any issues, hang-ups, right? If they bounce it back and forth, it could take a little bit. But if they didn't have any issues with it, right, it could be signed that very next Tuesday. So those are the adjustments on the timeline. The other thing I was asked to put in on the RFQ checklist, we have made a note that any staff or subcontractors that they choose to propose will be given preference if they're within Bannock County. So that is, I think, a great thing to add to that. And those are the major changes that we've done so far. There will be some adjustments to the scope of work, some more detail put in when we get to the RFP stage, where they actually need it. This, we were just looking that they're qualified to do that utility and type of work for us, and then we'll give them the additional details once they make it past that first hurdle.
I'm good.
There, questions, concerns?
I have a quick question on the funding source. that's been identified, we're gonna use ARPA funds.
Correct.
I have a report due on Saturday
Mhm.
for ARPA projects.
Mhm.
Do you want me to show this, or would you like me to wait until we have the
I would wait,
cost?
I would wait until we have cost and all that actually in, just because I get
That
nervous.
makes my life easier.
I don't want to have to amend and adjust and change, and to tell you the truth.
Okay.
So I'd rather have the cost, and to tell you the truth, nothing says we're actually going to use it, ARPA funds, until we actually sign the contract.
Thank you.
And are those ARPA funds, are those ARPA reports requesting projects that are, maybe 3 or 4 months out? Or
They
is it
want
more-
to know what money's been earmarked for certain projects.
Yeah.
So if you've obligated $2 million for this project, that's where I just needed to know
What-
if you've formally done that, so I know if I need to report it or not yet.
And what is an obligation us saying and then making a motion approving that in a meeting?
I am not 100% clear on that.
You could
but-
change your mind at this point, though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just asking
This
procedurally.
is still a draft.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
at this point, you've not
So-
obligated the money,
Right.
Yeah.
so I don't have to report it.
Yeah, so typically it would be,
No, I'm all for waiting.
I would say it's when the actual, something is executed that binds us to
So
the
like the award of the document.
award of the document.
That's what I think.
That's when,
Perfect.
I think we should make that our policy.
Because I was thinking about the DFC and the,
Yeah, once we sign
And
those
that's not
final,
been obligated in an open meeting
neither
yet.
one of them have.
Yeah.
so-
Perfect.
and once we sign those and it makes the official obligation, I think that's when we need to set that as our policy for that.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
perfect.
Thank you for that procedural clear up.
Okay, Commissioners, if you don't have any other questions on this, if you will sign, we'll get that. You'll have a notice to publish in next Tuesday's business meeting, and that will be published in the next 2 Sundays' papers, and we'll move forward. Well, I have started asking for potential contractors that we can directly reach out to that might be interested or have an interested party in this. So we've started that list, and we'll also publish that on our website as well.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next item I have is a
That's right.
recommendation to award the 4th of July fireworks display. That was a bid we opened last week. No, Tuesday. We did get one proposal.
I don't remember
and-
seeing it.
Yeah, no, Tuesday.
Sorry. Yep, it was on Tuesday. We opened that. We had one proposal from Acme Pro Pyro for $90,000. Scott has reviewed and is certain that they'll be able to do the work that they've asked. They have quite a few other shows. Sorry.
The budget for 4th of July is $100,000. So is everything else going to be 10?
So with this, the goal, I visited with Scott, is now he'll go out and ask for people to come in and supplement support.
But then the
So-
problem is the budget would have to be opened back up because,
And I have to have $100,000
Dollars,
before I
I
can
can-
open for anything additional,
yeah.
because we already have a budget of $100,000.
So we're at 100, we'd have 90, we would have to have 100 come in before we do that. Right?
Right now, they have no cash.
Yeah, so you'd have to have $100,000 come in.
Yes.
Or plus, and if you hit 100, then the budget opens to
Yes, yes,
allocate.
yes.
And I think that's the intent,
Absolutely.
and I think there are parties that are
Okay,
there.
okay. I just worry when
I know.
you have $10,000 to run the rest of the show.
Hey, guess what? It's gonna be an interesting show then. There's just gonna be a big boom and nothing else there.
Hey, that works. Less work for everybody.
Hey, and you know what? If we have to, we could just hit the button and send it all off at once, and then we go home.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Dude, ultimate finale.
Sorry to cut you off, Shannon. That was just, when I heard 90,000, I was like,
I didn't.
Well, and that helps correct the problems that happened last year when we didn't put out for bid. And so we're trying to be legal.
We're trying to make sure that everything is
And then we'll
followed due.
figure out the other parts as it comes along.
It'll either work out great or it'll be $10,000 more, and that's it.
Hey, do you know what that means?
That'd be
There's some
fantastic.
porta potties and that's it.
One big boom and some porta potties. Oh, okay.
Hey, there's no food vendors, no anything on the floor. Why do you even need porta potties then? Nothing up there? We got bathrooms. Go for a walk.
If there is, so I do have a letter recommending and awarding the bid to Acme Pro Pyro if the commission so desires.
We better get it on the books.
First come, first served.
And speaking of that, right, Scott and I have already made plans to do this in December of next year.
Yeah,
We had
put it in the
had,
budget.
mhm, we had interested parties reach out that they just didn't have time or they were full in their schedule, but they were interested in bidding. So we're going to make those adjustments early and often next year and get more interest in this.
Take a motion on that, don't we, to award that? Yes. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we award the bid for the fireworks for the 4th of July to Acme Pro Pyro in the amount of $90,000.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. The last item I have before the board is just an update. Some of these we've already taken care of today. The gravity sewer system, then we're going to go forward with that and get it posted and in the paper just as quickly as possible. The hot road mix from Road and Bridge, they are looking at piggybacking. We were looking at different co-ops and reviewing to see who had the best price for us, and now they have that, and that'll come before the board here next week. Photography has been posted. It was the first one we put on Facebook, and we got a wonderful response within the first day. We had several different people interested in it, so that was great. We already have one bid received back that is well under our approved budget.
Where's Emma today?
I am
Probably owe her an
working.
apology, asking her if I needed to keep her hired.
No, she is busy churning out all kinds of good stuff. But it was. There was one thing that both her and I talked about afterwards that we should have mentioned to the board. In our heads, the $10,000 would be an entire fiscal year, right? We only have 6 months left. We won't, even with the bid that came in, we won't even touch near half of that, which is $5,000. So we are super excited with the first one, and we'll continue moving forward. The last one I wanted to touch base with is on the architect for the detention center roof. I do have a signed contract back from that awarded from Booth Architecture, and that will come before the board on Tuesday for review and signature.
Okay.
If there is any questions?
Thank you.
so much.
All right. Christy Clauser.
Want me to go last? Do you want to have Christie or anybody else go? I'm here for the whole meeting. So. Or I'll go now. We'll let you.
Do we have Carrie coming, or is it just?
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Let's Ashley, come on up. Thank you.
Then they don't have to wait. Because they're not going to care.
Thank you. I hope not take too much of your time. Kerry isn't able to come today. He had to be in Franklin County, so he apologizes for not being here. And I wasn't sure after last week, you wanted me to come back with a plan. I met with Ryan at the HR department to review some of this. I think that email was sent or kind of reviewed with Christy as well, and Christy responded to that email. So I came back with a plan. I don't know if you guys have a copy of that, or if I brought copies in case you didn't get
This
it.
is the two commissioners.
Yes, I'm hoping that you got
Only
the right
one
one.
for the record. Do you have a?
And I don't know if you want one. Christy, I don't want to know.
Oh, he sent this to the agenda group or something.
I'm hoping you get, I had to fix my numbers, so I'm hoping you got the right one. So, the total number that I am requesting is $25,000. So,
That's not bad.
when I met with Ryan, we kind of looked at the numbers and things like that, and I do break it down. So if you look at the,
Ashley, can you give us the update
That's-
on the one that I have is
20,000.
20,000.
oh, sorry, yep, I sent another one to Carrie.
Can you give me one too, please?
Yep. So it is broken down to where the first numbers is for the 6 counselors that I currently have on staff. When I met with Ryan, I think we looked at the numbers, and it was really close to 2,500. So I just put 2,500 down to retain the 6 counselors that I have. So it would be $160 a pay period or $2 an hour pay increase from May 9th until the last pay period in September, until we can look at the budget. And so that was approved. That Ryan kind of looked at that. We approved that. We sent that over to Christy. I talked with Carrie. We do have the money, as we've talked to the Idaho Supreme Court and Judge Nass that oversees the drug courts, is the ADJ, and that money is available and it is there for us to be able to use. So I've also added in I'm requesting $2,500 for my, to recruit 2 of the positions, so the 2 positions that are open. So if I do get somebody that's interested in the position, that I have that available to be able to recruit them and bring them in at a $22 hour rate until we can look at the budget in October. So that would bump us up from $20 to $22 or the $2,500 to recruit them. And so that was $2,500 for each position, which is a total of $5,000 that could be available for them.
So the way we've done the stipends is not a $2 an hour.
Okay,
It's-
that was kind of what Ryan and I talked about.
Well, that was why when I responded on your email, it should be $160 per pay period. It's a 1 month, $160
Okay.
added each pay period.
Okay.
If you do the $2, then that commits that dollar. It's just cleaner. That's how we did the jail. I thought that's how we had
Yeah.
agreed
And it will
upon
be
doing
the
that.
equivalent to $2 an hour, so yes.
This is not a salary increase,
It's not a salary
It's
increase.
just-
which it does
It's
state in here.
Right.
for the period of, and that's why I.
Yeah, we just want to use the word stipend,
Stipend.
salary.
And I
increase.
think I
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
used both words in there.
You're fine.
Yeah.
I did use both words. I think I used stipend, and I think I put, it looked like a $2 increase after we kind of talked about that. So I apologize if the wording is not correct.
No, it's fine. It's just when we use the terms salary increase, and that's usually a binding effect that then would go into next year, which I'm not saying that there might not be changes in salaries, but
Sure.
with all these stipends, we're trying to tell everybody that this is just, because in this year we haven't allocated it as a full.
It's a stipend.
Yes.
It's temporary. It will
Yes.
end on, and that's trying to be really clear that ends on the last pay period of September.
Yes.
So, which is the date, I think, is pay period from, the first pay period is May 9th, I think is what the email,
The soonest we could do it
is May
is
9th.
when SAR forms are received.
till the last pay period. So again, the 2, for the 2 recruitment positions, I don't have anybody that's applied for the position, but I would like to have those funds available in case I ever do get someone, that's something that we could at least offer as some type of recruitment for them, which is why I'm asking for the $2,500 for each position.
And it's not $2,500.
Okay,
It should only be $1,600 plus benefits. That was the math I came up with.
And I think we talked earlier, and we were going off 11 pay periods, and you were going off 10, and that might be part of the difference.
Probably.
I think that's
But
what-
still, you probably just rounded up.
And, yeah,
get
and
to
I
the
was given a
25.
rough estimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's $1,600 per person,
okay,
plus benefits.
okay.
So who's the 6 individuals? Are they currently are employed?
Do you want me to name them? Do you want?
Not it, not it.
Okay, yes, all, the six that I'm asking for are current employees. They are the ones that are on staff as of now. I also put in there the request for the same type of increase for my 1 billing specialist and my 1 administrative assistant. I'm requesting that because through the period of time that we've been low in staff, they've been able to provide stability. I don't have the manpower to train a new person if they come in because I'm carrying a full caseload. I'm billing 33 hours a week myself. And so I would like to retain them as my staff as well. I feel like they manage the customers coming in. It's 250 people that walk through our door. They're managing the billing.
I'll just say every single office in Bannock County has that same concern.
Sure.
Every single one.
So
My question is, how many of these individuals are salaried?
all of them.
All of them are salaried?
No, paid hourly or paid salary?
You're the
Oh,
only salary.
they're all
exempt.
hourly. Yes, sorry, yes.
Okay. So what kind of overtime and comp time have they been accruing?
So they haven't accrued any overtime at this point. We do provide flex hours. We don't provide flex hours. So I try to manage them and ask them to stay within their 40 hours.
So any time over 40 hours, they are clocking.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we are tracking and clocking and correctly
Every
paying and
everything.
allocating
Yes.
if there is any overtime or any,
Yes,
okay.
I do, yes.
Thank you.
I don't, like, I'm not asking them to work for free or anything like that.
Thank you.
They are-
Yes, let's not do that.
And you
That-
don't give them 2 hour, if
No.
you work 2 hours short here, you don't let them
No.
make it up the next week or
We
anything
clock
like
everything.
They clock
Okay,
everything,
thank you.
yes,
That's-
correct.
We have some nightmare departments that have in the past, some of those certain words throw some very big red flags for us, so.
No,
just
they clock
thank you.
every hour that they work, and I know they're working a lot, they're working hard for me and they're billing a lot more than what's required or requested right now, but they've stepped up. So, I mean, like I said, we have about 250 clients that run through our doors, and trying to manage that with 6 people, and then my 2 admin staff. It's a lot.
I'm good with that. If the funds are coming from the district court, pass through, it's a stipend and it's to them, and then there's going to be a discussion at budget with the district courts.
So for quick clarification, we're no longer doing retention and onboarding stipends. We are doing bonus stipends for people that go above and beyond. Is that what we're doing now?
Is that the terminology, or what are you asking?
Well, I'm just asking because the first phase of what we did for stipends was for the jail, because they were bleeding people, and it's a mandated service that we had to have bodies in there, or we would have to shut them down, which we can't do. So now, with this request, it is more of my people are going above and beyond, and we have available funds, so we want to provide them with.
I don't know if I would necessarily agree that we're going, my 6 counselors are working a lot of hours, but I have 2 counselors that right now have been offered other positions. I don't know if they are going to leave.
Right, and
I mean, we're bleeding. I'm at a point where I don't know if we keep the rate we're going.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen in 6 months.
But your admin staff, we're just, you don't have vacant positions that you're trying to fill, and that's what we did with the jail. I'm just trying to
Thought
be
we
devil's
had-
advocate
There's
because.
2 empty.
Okay. Yeah, I thought there
I'm
are
trying to be
2.
devil's
I
advocate
have
That's
two.
counselors, not admin.
Okay,
So
all right.
you're speaking directly to the admin positions, not the counselor
Yes,
positions?
yes.
Okay.
And I'm only trying to give word of caution to the commission simply because I know we've got some other departments where they've got vacancies and they have not been fully staffed for the fiscal year or prior to the fiscal year. So I am anticipating those individuals coming in requesting this same thing. I'm devil's advocate. I'm only providing information and
Well,
concern.
and you just said it, we don't know what's going to happen in 6 months. I mean, this is a Band-Aid, because in
Right.
6 months, this is not guaranteed.
Well, and the other thing too, we're going to have a serious conversation about how we set this. And to tell you the truth, what I want to do, and I've thought about your job families and all that, I want District 6 put in their own job category class. All their admin, everybody, they're in their own class. They're not paid for by tax dollars. They're a pass-through.
Yes, they are.
They're not directly
We
paid
have
for.
two employees that are budgeted.
Oh, they are,
to
that's
share.
right, that's right, that we share.
Which, if this
Yep,
goes through,
yep.
we're gonna have to figure out how, because that person can't receive money until we open the budget.
And we want to, and I think our goal, I think we've talked about this, and we need to have further conversation about moving all of those positions under D6.
Well, and that's what I'm talking about, is for all of these, as I've thought about this, if it's gonna be a strictly pass-through, is how we originally set this up when we did this, is then it needs to be in its own category class, because it's not paid for in the same line items and funding. And it's one of those things that if the state wants to have state funds for the courts that come in and do that, and they're passing it through and it's not costing an impact to the county, then that's the state budgetary dollar amount of what's happening. That's how that works then. And then there's probably going to be, and I will probably be pushing for the state to probably change how we do business with district court. District court needs to be made then into a state function, and that's where it's going to go, because there's a couple of us commissioners that I've already been talking with people, but we need to put them in their own family and class. If the state funds and their billing funds and everything else, and all we're doing is acting as a pass-through agent, then that is a different. I look at that as almost like an enterprise fund. Then is, I mean, I know it's not, but you see what I'm saying?
Well, it is an enterprise fund.
It's a grant fund.
It's a grant, it's in the same class, it's in the same, yeah. It's, it doesn't meet the same exact, but yes, it's basically all, in all, yes.
But self-sustaining, yes.
Yes, it's self, and so that's what I say, is those two positions need to go away. It needs to go into its own family class, and they're not attached to the pay scales and parts of the county. Because there's some of these programs that, to tell you the truth, I don't know how you tie them to the county when, if the state can come in and inject funds at any time, it's a state, and that's actually how this was supposed to be created, was that this was supposed to be, we are supposed to be the pass-through and pay the books only. That's why that this was done, not that we're in a budget, they're not tied in the same realm. I know they have admin staff and all this other stuff, but really they're at the whim of the courts. I mean,
The
that's,
only difference is they're county employees,
Yes.
so they should be treated the
Yes.
same as.
But-
any county
I'll
employee.
tell you
But
where I'm
that's
at,
the
though, right
difference.
here with this. The admin and the billing specialist, I say no, right now. And then the other, I would like you to talk with Christie, because you have different numbers. You're saying 2,500 and
Their
16.
numbers are high.
1,600. So I'd like to have the numbers that we're actually agreeing to, because this paper doesn't say it. I'd like the numbers that we're actually saying we're paying.
For the total, because I think the bi-weekly we have, right?
You're saying pay period, it's 100, Christie's saying the number is $160 a pay period.
Per person,
Per person.
plus benefits. of
Plus
20%.
benefits. And I think that, I rounded to 2,500, because that's what Ryan and I talked about on Friday, was the rounded 2,500, but it comes in just under. I believe it's, I couldn't give you the exact number, it's like 24.
I can tell you right now, so you've got, if we're
Okay.
doing 6 people,
And that's how many you have on staff,
That's
right?
what we have in staff.
they need 2.
The counselors.
But you have 2 vacancies, right? So you wanted to have that many available
so
also.
8.
So if we take the 1,600 times 8 people,
You mean 160 or 1,600?
10 pay periods, sorry.
Yeah, gotcha.
We did a
You get 12,800 times 20%. Sorry, it won't hit 8, there we go. We need 15,360 from Carrie. Now, well, if one of those individuals is in share, then we'll have to go through the formal process to open the budget to pay that person. So you can approve that, knowing that that will be coming forward. But I'll need a check from Carrie's participant fees for 15,360. And I can put that in an email after the meeting. Honestly,
Further
that,
discussion?
we can put it in the general line items.
So the 2 employees, the admin staff, those are the ones that we would have to open the budget for?
no.
We have to
We're
come
only
up with
doing
money.
this for the counselors. There's one counselor and one admin in, well,
But she's
you don't
asking.
have the admin in share, do you?
Mhm.
Okay. So one admin
Yeah,
and
one
one.
admin, one counselor is in the shares
Right.
positions. We talked about moving them over, but then we decided not to. I can't
Because I
remember.
think you needed the money.
I can't
We hadn't
remember.
had the money in the billing hours that had been in the last budgetary cycle when we did it.
We
I
were
think that's
using
why.
it,
so-
And we were
and we were
waiting
using-
for this next,
Budget period to.
we were waiting for the next, and that's what I was saying.
To move them.
And we were using the contracts because you had a few contracts that were
Right.
picking up the slack.
That's
of-
right. So, and I only have one contract currently on, working right now.
So, again, like I said, for me, the money is coming from the state. It's in the state.
The money is coming from the state for the counselors.
The money's coming from participant fees, county participant fees.
I know.
So they're really not state monies.
Yeah.
They're county
But it's,
participant fees.
but,
for
yes,
problem-solving
but it's,
courts.
but it's the, yeah.
County participant fees?
So problem-solving courts have, the participants within those have to pay fees.
Right.
So it's money deposited in the county coffers for those problem-solving
It's just like
courts.
people don't know why that-
But
it's
that
the
money
same
is,
thing.
from my understanding, flexible enough they can use it for items such as this. That's where their startup monies of 94,000 came from too.
Well, and so that's what I'm saying is when I call it a state fee, this is a user fee, this is a participant
Right.
fee. And that's why I say, in this function, it's coming from a pot that's, if it's there and it's identified and it's in those funds, then again, I get it. And we need to just we're gonna need to have a serious conversation about D6 at budget of how we handle this. And we've had some conversations and some things of just, do we make them like the fair board and say, here's your lump sum for what you have, and inside of this, and you go do it. Ashley, she's not a deputized clerk. Nobody in her office are deputized clerks. They're not handled the same as the clerk's offices. They're not the same function. Again, this is not the same functions for what we have here. And so that's what I'm saying is, for this, if they have the funds, they've identified it, we can have it tagged, I'm fine with that. We need to have a very serious conversation at budget then of what are salaries, what is it, what is the funds coming from those participant user fees, and if the services and what is in line with the participant user fees are in line with the standard and customary rates for your staff and the other people, then that's what we do. And again, that whole office is going to need to probably just be set as its own family, because then there will be work on the other side to probably separate your family from the county in the future and make it into its own, basically a regional type office, is like the health district or something else in that matter. Because I don't see how we do this anymore. And I started thinking about this, about the amount of time and effort and coming back, and we are treating you as a department of the county, because in fact you are a department of the county, but you're not in the same stream as a regular department in the county. I mean, the only other one that's close to you is the landfill. You're a self-sustaining user fee-based entity. That's how you'd be classified, is you start classifying just in for administrative purposes, for definition, that's where you would be. And so, the landfill is a user fee-based system. I mean, that's what while it's a self-sustaining entity, it's not, I mean, that's a true enterprise fund, where this one is you're sentenced to the user fees. I mean, but you see what I'm saying? I mean, that's how we need to start thinking of this, because I think we've overthought, we've gotten into the point when we had this original conversation, there was supposed to be a little bit more autonomy into it, and there was supposed to be, and how we did it. So we've learned some lessons, but I really think at budget, we just need to come in and say, okay, what is the standard and customary rates for these positions? Where are we at? Here's your budgetary amount. This is what needs to be set. Coming back and forth and us dealing with all of this like 14 times. While I appreciate seeing you, I don't.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed.
Any further questions, comments?
I'm good to support everything she asked for, because she's identified the funds.
Okay.
What I would like though is I would like what Ernie's saying. I want all the final amounts, so we know exactly what for records.
We just got them, 15,360.
Well, but just in a.
We did.
Well, that's for the
other.
8. That's for the 8 counselors, so.
I only did the 8 counselors.
The admin staff with that.
So give us the final number then.
The final number with all.
I just
10
like it in a
with the 10.
memo for Tuesday, and we just sign it off on part of the business.
And that's for the all 10 positions.
I would support all 10.
Okay.
Ernie's 8 out of the 10.
Okay.
So you'll get 2 out of 3 votes.
Okay.
Yes, just put it in a memo and bring it and have it sent on Tuesday. You don't need to be here for all I care. Bring the memo that shows, so we have exactly what is being,
The exact numbers for each position, total funds, and then make sure Carrie
That's what I would like on Tuesday, so it's very clear for who's asking for what.
So I'll provide the numbers, because that's where it should come from.
Yep.
And
Yes.
then you provide the funding source. So
Okay.
I will kick you between now and Monday, I will kick you the dollars. And then Carrie can identify the funds. We will need to separate out share versus D6, because part will go here, part will go here.
And that's what I'm saying, where I would like a clean memo for that, and then bring it Tuesday.
Part of
and
it's
we
coming
can
out of
approve it.
county funds.
Yep.
Done.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I don't need to attend on Tuesday. Okay.
I'm good. I think all of my questions have been answered. I was being a little sarcastic.
All right, Christie?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning. Christy Davenport, Management Assistant. I am just bringing the updated board assessed value appeal forms before you for Board of Equalization for this year. The main things I changed, and the top one is the property information. The direction that I had received from you previously was that more than one parcel being appealed would need to be just a written testimony. Is that still?
Yep.
So I took if you had more than 5, it would be a written testimony, and just made it the one. The second.
And that's right there on the property information?
Right underneath
First
that.
box?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing I did add at the bottom was wording, this appeal must fall within the guidelines of Idaho Code 63604. Appeals must be based on owner's belief that there's a discrepancy in the assessor's assessed value, not because of taxes. So that is new from last year.
Okay.
Assuming that it would be read. Then there was a request that I put together an ag assessment appeal form. So that's your second form. Anita, I have worked with Anita on this, and she asked for a couple updates from my original, so I updated it. She likes this one. I haven't not heard back from legal yet whether or not this is okay. And
Okay, on this one.
Mm-hmm.
If there's multiple parcels, how do you want this? Because this allows multiple parcels.
For
From
ag?
the way I'm reading.
Well, in ag, I'm okay with multiple parcels, because typically you'll have multiple ag parcels grouped together. Because I think everyone that we've normally had,
Well,
the north 40, the south 40, the center 40,
So
I guess.
like one landowner will have maybe 15 different parcels, but they're all ag.
They're all ag. As long as they're all ag, that's the classification that you should be dealing with. Now, if there's a house on one of those, we'll have to take it.
okay, then time limits.
I think we should treat the ag appeals like the others, the commercial.
And just
It
have
needs
them
to be written.
just write what you're doing, because to tell you the truth, I don't think we've ever had an ag that has not ended up back over the ag appraiser's office and them actually going through it. And to tell you the truth, if they'll just write us what's going on with it, that's really, I see one of those written about what's going on with your appeal, and I'm going to say, the first thing I'm going to say is, appraisers, I want your written response to this. And by the time they do their written response, they've probably figured out whatever's going on.
Well, it was a year ago, 2 years ago, that we had the one rancher that had like 80 parcels.
I would just attach it.
Have a direction.
I would just
if
have
there's that many.
If multiple parcels attach, please attach.
the written testimony.
Just attach a spreadsheet with all your parcel numbers. That's it.
And then do you want it set like during that administrative part of the end of the day that we normally
Just
schedule
whenever
it?
we get to, the main thing is to turn them in. I don't think we need to have a set time whenever we can open the hearing and do it. Just have the admin time, either, because like I said, most of these, I bet if they write them out, they'll end up in front of the ag appraiser, and the ag appraiser, I don't think there was one that once they went over and talked and saw what was going on, whether it was either a dryland graze determination or a center pit, the one that they said they had like improved center pivots on it, and they'd actually driven out there that day and they're like, no, there hasn't been a center pivot or anything on there forever.
Well, more times than not, we turned it back to them. And go figure this out.
And that's what I'm saying, is we want them to,
So
I'm
the
almost,
appellant doesn't need to show up, you'll just see it during
it'll be a
admin.
written.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so I'll make it clear.
Because, like I said,
or-
those are most,
Already using highlights, bold.
99% of those didn't, once they got to the right person over there, because the blocking and interference that was done, but once that was removed and they got to the right person over there, I don't think any of them came back over here to it. I think they were all figured out over there.
I think so.
Okay, I'm good with it.
Okay, and then so with regards to the rest, I've just updated dates. I did update that they only needed to submit 3 copies instead of 5 because a few of the commissioners are happy with digital copies. And then the rules of the hearing that will go out with them. I do have the assessment appeal withdrawal form that was requested to be drawn up last year. However, I don't know that we ever actually used it, so I'm not sure.
Well, during that BOE hearing,
We had a couple of them that people are,
they have to,
they have to say, or we have to have something written for them.
So go ahead and keep this.
I think so.
Okay.
I think there was discussion about that, so.
Yeah.
We either have to have it on a paper where we approve or that we have the form saying they pulled their appeal.
Would an email from the appellant be suitable?
As long as we have written somewhere
Okay.
from them,
Okay.
something
then-
to fall back on, because they're always gonna say we mailed it.
Yeah.
It
Right.
Never got here.
And then the last 2 are just opening statement and motion examples from previous years. So I wasn't sure if you wanted to see those or not. Had any questions?
The only other thing is on your first page in your red, please print clearly,
Legibly.
legibly.
Okay.
Form will not be accepted if,
Okay.
I just read that and those people applying for the judgeship.
Oh.
If you can't read it, you can't be a judge.
Yeah.
You can't read it, you can't.
Yep.
Okay. Very good, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Christie.
This will be short and sweet.
You're promising.
This one's easy.
You know, I've heard a lot of church talk start like that.
45 minutes later. That's fantastic.
The second speaker never had a chance to speak.
Well, you made it through Shannon, from what I hear. She was like high maintenance last week, so, right?
It was
Kept
funny.
having
It was funny.
More and more.
That was funny.
The first to review would be the revenue, just because that'll be a little bit quicker. Everybody looks like they are coming in on budget actual revenues. Parks and Rec is only at 42.8%. They should be at 50, but they're seasonal, so that's perfectly makes sense. The other ones are not on track. Well, we are on track, but we've not received money in PILT yet. We don't get that until June, sometimes July. Snowmobile money is a one-time payment, so we haven't received that yet. Waterways, I'm going to have to relook at that one because it comes in monthly. And if we don't make that come in, then we might just have to cut what we spend next year. But again, it's seasonal, so we really haven't had a lot of registrations come in on those. Juvenile detention, I need to do a little bit more work on. We had some issues with Tyler where we did the billing. So when the revenue came in, you were supposed to just show the revenue against the billing. We had a little bit of a glitch, and that isn't showing as revenue yet. But I know we've received the money, so not worried too much there. 911 is a little bit behind. They're only at 48%. So we'll continue to monitor that one because even with the increase of a quarter, we're really not seeing increased revenue yet.
Talking about that, we pay Ada County for the 911 system.
It is.
It was in today's deals.
Yeah,
and
I need to relook at that. I think we pay them quarterly, and it is, we've always done it, it's a part of the
Isn't that,
services that are provided to be able to get the 911.
it's where the state has their hooked up, it's like the hook in for the rest of the state, is I think what it is that's how
And
it's,
it's Ada County's the hub right now.
Yeah, they're
so
the-
That's fine.
Okay, I just noticed that.
I should have a better explanation for that, but it's just not looking that fast.
It just come back to me when you said 911, so.
So that is the revenue report. Did you have any?
I reviewed it, and it looked good to me.
The expenditure report, we have a few departments that I'm a little concerned about. I'm going to keep the coroner for last. The first, sorry, I didn't write these down, I just tabbed them. The IT budget, they're at 89% spent. So I need to do a little bit deeper dive on that. It could be because we've made some big payments on our software.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I would guarantee it's because we've made some big payments on the software. It's kind of like on your budget, when you pay out of county operations, you pay the juvenile detention. When you pay that big lump sum, it throws you like you're going to be over budget, but you're not. It's just that's the bulk of the budget. Same case with IT. So I believe they will be fine, but they do reflect that they're 89.5% spent, and they should only be at about 50. Next is the snowmobile budget. That one is reflecting that it's 60% spent. That's the opposite of Parks and Rec. Their busy season is past, other than maintenance on the vehicle. They only have an $18,000 budget, but they've spent $11,000. They still have $7,400 unspent. They're not going to go over budget.
They had a big
I do not
expense on their
believe.
vehicle this year. So.
Yep, and so that's probably where that's coming from. The county boat, we are 19,000 spent out of the 25,000. That's just unusual for us because normally we spend it at the end, but we've been taking care of the event center and the reservoir up there. So that one will be fine. We'll just cut them off when.
Well, I love that we
monies
spend
are
it in
done.
county.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is definitely a nice change. And then juvenile detention. Juvenile detention is at 66.9% spent as of the end of March. That one we'll probably watch a little bit. I'm not sure what's thrown them off a little bit. They've only got a couple lines in the negative. Electricity is one. Basically, it's their utility bills has thrown them over. And then they've spent a little bit more money in uniforms, which is post gear, and than what they were over there. So we'll just monitor that one to make sure that they're in line. It shouldn't be a problem. It just could be a timing. The one we are concerned about is the coroner's office. So the coroner's office, and this is a follow-up to the meeting we had a couple weeks ago to give you a heads up on this. The coroner's office is currently $2,300 in the negative on their professional services. $2,000 of that is the Downard case, which I haven't seen a lot of movement on that. I'm not sure where everything is on that. Their professional fees without the Downard is $263 in the negative. Right now, the budget report I pulled for last week said they have $4,300. They spent $2,800 today in the claims that you signed, so they're at about $1,400 left in their budget. We had talked 2 weeks ago about, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, about adding potentially $40,000 to their budget. The bulk of that would be for professional services. They did have a couple expenditures that they didn't anticipate when the year started. They did buy some chairs that I do not believe was budgeted, but they needed them just office staffing and getting set up in the new space. And then also the chief deputy coroner's vehicle had a few repair issues, so that threw them a little bit.
The old black one?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got that black Expedition that's made the rounds through a lot of different.
I think
it started at the sheriff. It went through the commission at one point.
I think that's
through
about
adult probation, so it's probably about ready to be kicked out.
Yeah.
But regardless, so their vehicle repairs is $2,100 in the hole right now, on top of the professional services, and that's about the only line item that we're or those two line items. The original ask a couple weeks ago was that maybe we would take some contingency money and roll into the coroner's budget so that it would be transparent as to how the monies were spent and how much they truly needed. If you would like me to proceed with that, I can do, originally we had talked about maybe $40,000. I could put $40,000 in. If you consider they've spent $44,000, well, $46,000 in professional services, and they're 6 months through the year, 7 months.
Yeah.
I think $40,000 will get them through the rest of the year.
And that's all all your professionals, all of your autopsies and all of your, what do you call it, blood toxicology and all that stuff.
So there's no way to recoup any of that. It's up to the coroner whether them tests are done.
Well, I think it's a cooperative agreement between the coroner, the
Well,
prosecutor, and the sheriff.
under state law, it is the coroner's decision to do that. So it is the coroner, and the only person that can say otherwise is the prosecutor may also ask for an autopsy if the coroner doesn't wish for one. But it's the coroner's responsibility to make sure that those tests are done. And that was part of the discussion with Hide It, with drug overdoses, with all that, is they want the autopsies done because they can't charge or move forward or do anything without having the autopsy behind it.
And that's why he's been doing more.
And that's why we're designated a Hide It county, is because we have so many of them. And and the federal guys, they are trying to prosecute those. And that's...
And I don't know if, and Brian might be able to answer this, I don't know if there would be any way that if there was a wrongful death of some sort, if there's any way to try and recoup
I think he'd be
costs if
bleeding
somebody was to be
a
prosecuted.
turnip.
But how are you going to do that if they go to jail?
Are you like restitution from,
Yeah,
for cost of autopsy?
That's a big reach.
Yeah, I don't think it... See, the problem is an autopsy is a constitutional requirement, and that's something that we need to be extremely careful treading into whether you will or you won't. That's actually one of the biggest, you shall, like if I was going to rate the shalls of what the counties shall do, that's probably in the top 5.
It's probably comparable to all the work that Christie's had to do on your BOEs.
Yes.
You just do it because you have to.
And if more people are dying,
And we
slow
are,
down.
we are seeing more cases. I mean,
Well, that fentanyl case the other day that I think it was in Idle Falls where they got all those pills, and that's the problem, is this is just,
that's right.
it's everywhere.
Currently, we have $300,000 budgeted in contingency. We have not earmarked anything, to my knowledge, for any of those funds. I don't know if there would be a way. I think ARPA would be a huge stretch.
I think the contingency funds would be
I like the contingency. The 40,000, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
But it's also one of them deals that you got to learn how to budget. And I realize that he's new to the position, but it's also a concern that I had when individuals were put in positions.
Well, and I would anticipate that.
Yeah, but how do you forecast
A death, that's the problem.
That's the issue.
Well, and I think that's
There's two issues. We've had the increase in death, and then the recommendation that you autopsy all overdoses.
well,
Recommendation.
well, and the other thing it comes back
That's
to
all I'm saying.
is, and I've had this conversation with Pocatello PD and a couple, and with past corners, is that past corners were not doing that, and the PD and those guys, and it was told because it was a budgetary item, well, we're just not going to do those autopsies, we're not going to do that. And so that's the problem, is from me personally, I don't want to be I get it, if it warrants it, and that's why I say we got to tread lightly, because that's not our...
It's the same category as the health department was last week.
It is.
They come in and ask, if they're asking for $100,000 more in their budget, then they're going to have to justify it.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
And I would anticipate next year's budget request will include
you can probably have better numbers.
probably $80,000 for professional services. And we've not had a great trend, because the coroner's office is much different today than it was last year, than it was 2 years ago, than it was 5 years ago. We had a coroner that was very tight with money, didn't have a formal office. Some of the didn't attend trainings. But we have one now that is a little bit more proactive, so that budget will most likely increase.
Now, I'm just going to ask the same questions of them that I do of everybody else.
Mhm.
That's just
No,
plain
and that's...
simple.
and that-
I've prepared him for that.
And that's the point. And that's the point, though, is what needs to happen, though, is, okay, here's your total budget. The first place we're looking for monies is not into the contingency. The first place of monies is your education budget, your traveling expense budget, your this budget. I mean, that's the first place that those cuts need to come from
And I-
before you go outside of your
I did ask him about his travel and education. He has, in his travel, he's only got $133 left, and he's got $700 in education. He is anticipating attending a national coroners conference, but he will be scholarshiped on that.
Yeah.
So we'll put the money up front, and then he'll receive a reimbursement. So we may open the budget for that, depending on what this $40,000 does towards us.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is across the street, I ask questions and it'll happen out there too.
Yep.
Yep, and it should.
I
Just
will-
plain and simple.
I will get a letter put together for Tuesday's
That's fine.
agenda, so we don't have to cut him off, for Tuesday's agenda to move monies, and then I'll forward that to Amy to do the resolution. And then that should take care of that. I'll be at budget levy Tuesday next week, but
Well,
you know what this is, so.
how many times do you hear the federal government's shutting down? Coroner's office is shutting down?
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. I don't want another letter from the Attorney General's office.
Money's money. Money's money.
Okay, I will get that put together. Does anybody have any questions on those
No.
reports?
Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the comptroller's report under Idaho Code 31-1611.
A motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that brings us to
Mine? Okay. So, you know that we typically have 4 precincts that vote at the Holt Arena. This year, the Holt Arena is under construction, and it'll be just during the time that we are voting. We did actually look for some other locations, but there's really nowhere that we could find that was easy for those precincts. So what I am proposing is that we rent a couple of 20 by 40 festival tents, and that has been approved by ISU. They'll come and they'll stake them out using heavy concrete out in the parking lot where Holt Arena typically has them done. As close to the north entrance as we can. We can't use the south entrance because of the staging for construction. So you have on the agenda there, it's going to cost $2,093 to do that. And rather than sending additional mailers to those 4 precincts to move them and move them back, this is what we're proposing to do. They can put heaters in there at kind of the last minute. If the weather looks like it's going to be a little bit nasty that week, they have some measures that they can put in place, and we can get heaters last minute to put in there.
what about restroom facilities for poll?
So, what he said is he's going to try to get one of the restrooms inside operational for that one day, and they'll rope it off, and we'll inform the poll workers and the public if they need to use it that they can go in that one bathroom door.
I'm not as worried about the public as the poll
Right,
workers.
the
Some
poll
of them are
workers.
aged.
Yep, they're going to need it.
Well, I'd say maybe just for the public, you just have 2 porta-johns
Well,
taken up
and
there.
if he can't get that bathroom, if it's out of commission on that day, I've also talked to Roto-Rooter, and we can get some porta potties up there pretty quick notice, which will cost a little bit more. But they're pretty
We
inexpensive.
got them all over the place at the event center.
Yeah.
It's almost too bad that we just couldn't, that we, like a construction trailer.
Mm.
I mean, there's a couple of those. It's too bad that we, even, are there any RV dealers that can bring us in some?
Yeah, hey, maybe that would be nice.
Let's have an RV show.
Yeah.
Vote over here.
If they'll open up Old Arena.
They should be fine.
That would be ideal. We
best
just put up the tents, and if it's cold, if it looks like it's going to be cold that, Friday before, the forecast for the following Tuesday, if it looks like it's going to be a little bit cold, then I'll just order additional heaters.
So I would probably say for your tents, just speaking from horrible experience of paperwork in the field with tents, see if there's some way that they can get a vestibule so they can have kind of a wind block, because I'm afraid that they have.
They're gonna have walls. These tents all.
No, they'll have their walls, but there's
in,
like their entrance, if they have like a,
oh, I
you know
see.
what I mean? That's just.
I'll get
I have
something
this
set up.
nightmare of a wind tunnel starting, and then all of a sudden I'm watching ballots blowing down the street.
We'll be careful.
I mean, just to help. I mean, if there's anything like that in that expense wise, I'm okay. If whatever we have to do to make sure that's protected,
Right. Yeah, when they're gonna set them up the day before, and so I'll go up and make sure that things like that are taken care of, and it's all the way that we want it. And then,
We have identified funds.
and they.
I was
yes.
gonna ask.
Yes, it is in the elections budget, and with that, Brian wants us to talk with them and have one thing taken out of the contract. You want to address that?
It's just the insurance section.
Yeah.
Where they seem to have to have a minimum number of insurance and amount of insurance and then add them to our insurance policy. It's boilerplate stuff that they have for other people, but wouldn't work for us.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'll work on that, and then I'll put this back on the agenda next Tuesday for signature then,
I'm okay with that.
after we get the contract changed and some of those
Good.
other little details.
I'm
So
good.
it should be a pretty easy thing on
So
Tuesday.
just for clarification, and just by doing this, you're saving relocating 4 different polling locations.
Oh, yeah.
And a mailing cost.
And a mailing cost, because we would have to send out a mailer to each of these 4 precincts, telling them where their new precinct is. And for this, and then we would have to send them another mailer to say, now you're moving back to the Holt Arena.
Yeah, this is the best course
So-
of action.
So we'll have on that day at that, between these 4 polling locations, we'll have right around 1,000 people is traditionally what we have for a primary for these 4.
Perfect.
Couple hundred per precinct.
Good solution.
Good
I
weather,
think so.
good day.
But yeah, we're praying for good weather.
Now, if we were to have like hot dogs and stuff, would we have to be 150 feet away?
Yes.
Sorry, that was just that.
Let's make it 175 to keep it clean.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Okay.
That being said,